something is brewing in Dove Valley, and it is not just the late August heat. There is a real growing possibility that the Denver Broncos could walk into the regular season with neither Jarrett Stidham nor Sam Ehlinger on the roster as their backup quarterback. Let that sink in for a second. Two players who have spent the entire offseason and training camp fighting for the QB2 job. And there is a legitimate chance the Broncos look at both of them, shrug, and go shopping somewhere else entirely. That is how unconvincing this competition has been, and today we are breaking down exactly why, along with 4 names who could realistically be the answer if Denver decides to blow this thing up before cutdown day. Let's start with the temperature check, because the fan base is just as divided as the coaching staff appears to be behind closed doors. A recent poll asking what the Broncos should do at quarterback 2 pulled in more than 3,500 responses, and the results paint a picture of total uncertainty. 35% said stick with Jarrett Stidham, 42% said hand the job to Sam Ehlinger, and a full 23% said forget both of them, go trade for someone new entirely. When you break that down, it means a combined 65% of the fan base does not want Stidham as the guy, but there is not even a clear consensus on who should replace him internally. That is not a healthy sign for a position this important heading into a season with real expectations attached. And look, none of this happened by accident. Stidham had his moments this preseason, most notably a strong outing against Atlanta where he looked comfortable and in rhythm. But then came the Green Bay game, and it was ugly across the board, offensive line included. Sam Ehlinger, on the other hand, flashed some exciting plays throughout camp, but has barely sniffed meaningful preseason reps to actually prove anything at game speed. Neither player has separated. Neither player has grabbed this job and refused to let go of it. And if forced to pick right now between the two of them, the lean would probably go toward Ehlinger. But even that comes with zero real confidence attached to it. Here is the uncomfortable question that needs to be asked out loud. Should the Broncos actually explore outside quarterback options before the season starts? The answer, increasingly, feels like a necessary yes, and roster cutdown day arriving on the 30th only adds fuel to this fire. Because that deadline always triggers a wave of surprising roster moves across the entire league. Teams sign players, teams release players, and suddenly there is a pool of talent hitting the open market that simply was not available a week earlier. So if Denver is serious about finding a better answer at backup quarterback, the next several days represent the exact window where that kind of move could realistically happen. So who exactly could be on Denver's radar if they decide to go shopping? Let's start with a name that has Eagles fans in a full-blown identity crisis right now, Tanner McKee. Here is the physical profile first, because it matters. McKee stands 6'6" and weighs 232 pounds, a 6th-round selection out of Stanford back in the 2023 draft. His size alone gives him a massive advantage in pocket poise, allowing him to stand tall, see over the defensive line, and deliver accurate throws even when things get chaotic up front. The issue right now is that Philadelphia itself cannot decide whether McKee is actually their true backup or if that title still belongs to veteran Andy Dalton. And reporting out of Philly currently has the Eagles projecting their roster with Dalton as quarterback 2 and McKee getting squeezed out entirely. That might sound absurd given the tape, and it is worth pointing out why. Last preseason, McKee was one of the most impressive backup performers in the entire league, torching Cincinnati's starting defense to the tune of 20 completions on 25 attempts for 253 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a jaw-dropping 135 passer rating. This year has been more of the same story. Through this preseason, McKee is completing right around 69% of his passes for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a passer rating over 107. Those are not backup numbers. Those are the numbers of a legitimate starting caliber talent who simply has not been given the opportunity yet because of organizational stubbornness. there is a strange, persistent affection within the Eagles organization for veteran Andy Dalton that continues to overshadow what McKee has actually shown on the field. Here is the catch if the Broncos want him. McKee is not a vested veteran, which means if Philadelphia cuts him, he does not become a free agent who can sign anywhere he wants. He has to pass through waivers first, and Denver currently sits near the bottom of the waiver priority order, meaning some other team desperate for quarterback help would almost certainly scoop him up before he ever reached the Broncos. So realistically, if Denver wants Tanner McKee more than any other name on this list, a trade is probably the only viable path to actually landing him. All right, before we dive into the rest of this list, let's talk about something that matters just as much as any quarterback decision: this channel. We are closing in fast on 1,000 subscribers, and if you are enjoying this level of honest, detailed Broncos breakdown, hitting that subscribe button is the single easiest way to support the channel and help us keep this content coming. We are growing quickly, and every single subscription genuinely moves the needle. Let's get back into the quarterback options. Name number 2 on this list is a guy who has bounced around the league and quietly built a reputation as one of the better backup quarterbacks in football, Mason Rudolph. He is not necessarily the first choice here, but make no mistake. When it comes to pure backup quarterback value, Rudolph ranks among the top 10 in the entire NFL. He has real starting experience, having spent multiple seasons as QB1 for the Steelers, including stepping in last year when injury struck ahead of him on the depth chart. Right now, he is technically listed as Pittsburgh's quarterback 2, but that label is shaky at best. Why? Because most people around the Steelers organization believe that if Pittsburgh decides to keep 4 quarterbacks on their active roster, which is exceedingly rare across the league, Rudolph is the odd man out in favor of 2 younger, cheaper, higher upside options on the roster. Even Rudolph himself has acknowledged the uncertainty, admitting publicly that he does not know exactly how the quarterback room will shake out, but that he feels confident in what he has shown. Realistically, keeping 4 quarterbacks on an active 53-man roster almost never happens around the league, and Pittsburgh is not likely to be the exception. If Rudolph gets cut loose, he is a vested veteran, meaning he can sign with absolutely any team he chooses, no waiver wire required. He could call up Denver directly, and the deal could get done almost immediately if there is mutual interest. His actual production backs up the value. Last season, Rudolph completed 73% of his passes for 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 84.6. Those are not spectacular numbers, but they are entirely respectable for a backup quarterback, especially one who would be walking into a situation with a strong Denver defense already in place to lighten the load. The only knock is cost. Rudolph currently carries the second highest cap hit on Pittsburgh's roster behind only their starter, sitting around $6 million, which runs a bit higher than some of the other names available on the market. But for a team with genuine Super Bowl aspirations, that price tag for proven game-tested experience is far from unreasonable. Our third name brings us right back to Philadelphia, Andy Dalton. He earns a spot on this list purely because of the domino effect. If the Eagles ultimately roll with Tanner McKee as their guy, Dalton becomes a free agent all over again, immediately available to sign wherever he wants. Right now, all indications suggest Philadelphia actually prefers Dalton, for reasons that remain a bit puzzling given McKee's tape, but as recently as this week, Dalton has been taking the second-team reps ahead of McKee in practice. At this stage of his career, nobody is calling Dalton a starting caliber option anymore, but he represents exactly the kind of safe, steady journeyman presence that plenty of teams around the league covet, especially teams with a young quarterback they may eventually want to develop and hand the keys to down the road. Think of the role Kirk Cousins played for the Raiders last season, a bridge option capable of stepping in for a stretch of games without the offense completely collapsing. Dalton's numbers from last season with Carolina tell that exact story. He completed 67 6% of his passes for 293 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 89.1 in his appearances. Perfectly mid-tier, perfectly unspectacular, but perfectly serviceable in exactly the role Denver desperately needs filled right now. And there is a financial angle here too. Stidham's $8 million cap number is difficult to justify given his performance, while both Dalton and Ehlinger would represent considerably cheaper paths forward if Denver wants to reallocate that money elsewhere on the roster. Which brings us to the fourth and most fascinating name on this entire list, a total wild card, Jack Strand out of Minnesota Moorhead, an undrafted free agent currently fighting for a roster spot with the Atlanta Falcons. From a pure physical standpoint, there is a lot to get excited about here. Strand stands 6'5" and weighs 240 pounds with a genuinely lively arm, impressive touch and accuracy on his deep throws, and sharp anticipation working through his progressions. He also brings real athleticism to the position, capable of extending plays and picking up yardage with his legs, evidenced by a rushing touchdown he scored against the Colts this preseason. The obvious question with any small school prospect is how that talent translates against elite competition, and Strand has already started drawing some bold, arguably premature comparisons to names like Joe Flacco and even hints of Ben Roethlisberger based purely on his size, arm strength, and play style. That might be a stretch for a player who has not faced a full slate of NFL-caliber talent yet, but the physical traits behind those comparisons are real. Strand posted a jaw-dropping 42 passing touchdowns during his final season at Minnesota Moorhead, and in his most notable preseason action against the Colts, he went 12 for 17 for 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 132.5. Impressive, no doubt, but it is worth remembering this is preseason production against backups and roster fringe players, so it needs to be taken with the appropriate grain of salt. So how should the Broncos actually approach this decision if they truly want to upgrade the quarterback 2 spot? There are really 2 schools of thought here. One approach says find the veteran who gives you the best possible chance to win a game right now if your starter goes down, someone with actual relevant starting experience under real NFL pressure. The other approach says find a younger developmental arm you can groom within the system and plug in down the road when the timing is right. For a team like Denver, one that genuinely believes it has Super Bowl aspirations this season, the smarter play almost certainly leans toward the veteran route. That means names like Mason Rudolph or Andy Dalton, players who have actual wins and real snaps in meaningful NFL games, likely make more sense than betting on unproven upside from names like Tanner McKee or Jack Strand. As talented and intriguing as they may be for the future, at the end of the day, this entire situation boils down to one simple truth. The Broncos have not seen enough from either Stidham or Ehlinger to feel confident heading into the regular season, and with roster cutdown weekend about to unleash a flood of available talent across the league, this front office may not have to settle for an uncomfortable answer. The next several days could bring real change to this quarterback room. Whether that comes through a waiver claim, a trade, or simply signing a cut veteran the moment he clears his current roster. Either way, this is a storyline absolutely worth watching closely as the season inches closer. Now it is your turn. Who out of these 4 names would you actually want to see in a Broncos uniform? Drop your pick down in the comments below, because this community always brings incredible energy to these debates, and we want to hear exactly where you land on this one. And if you are the kind of fan who wants this level of deep, honest breakdown delivered to you regularly, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. We are closing in fast on 62,000 subscribers and growing at an incredible pace, and every single subscription genuinely helps this channel continue to grow and bring on even more collaborations with other great Broncos creators. Before you head out, do us a solid. Hit that thumbs up if this breakdown gave you something to think about. Drop your quarterback 2 prediction in the comments. And if you have not already subscribed, now is the perfect time to lock that in. We are so close to that next milestone, and we genuinely want you along for the ride as this Broncos season kicks into gear. Turn on those notifications too so you catch every single update the moment it breaks. Until next time, stay locked in and mile high salute.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.